Well, good evening all, and welcome to Council Monday night on another summer beautiful evening. This is the 32nd council meeting of the 144th Council of the Corporation of the City of St. Thomas. Are there any disclosures of interest from any of the members? Seeing none, we'll go to minutes.
I have a motion that the minutes of the meeting held on September 9th, 2024 be confirmed. Moved by Councillor Herbert, second by Councillor Clark.
Questions or comments on the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Next item.
Next order of business, council will resolve itself into committee of the whole to deal with the following business. First committee is strategic direction and development. First item is proposed zoning bylaw amendment application for 134 and 136 Manor Road. I have a motion that report PD 2524 relating to a proposed zoning bylaw amendment for 134 to 136 Manor Road be received for information. And further, the council authorized staff to prepare a site-specific draft amendment to zoning bylaw 50-88 to permit a proposed residential development on lands described as Lot 70, Plan 11M264 in the city, and further that a public meeting be scheduled for October 15th, 2024 at 6 p.m. in accordance with Ontario Regulation 545/06 as amended. Moved by Councillor Kohler, second by Councillor McCauley.
Questions or comments? Councillor Wookie.
Thanks, Your Worship. Given the fact that this was not originally designed as a lot and it looks like it's a little short, given the curve of the road, I just want to make sure that the driveway is long enough for like a big pickup truck to be able to park in it, because I don't want us to get into the need for on-street parking and all that kind of stuff there. And I can see the diagram, but I just like some reassurance that, especially the one on the north side, essentially, I believe of it, is the shorter driveway. So I don't know if we have anybody that can tell us what's going on there, but just that's my concern over just that one thing, is just the one driveway looks fairly short from what I can see.
Well, we're going to go right to the top to Mr. Pompili.
Through you, Your Worship. Yes, no, great question, because it's always a concern to make sure that that there is sufficient parking, and in this case, there will be. And if the final plan that we get at the time of building permit actually were to come back, that there wasn't sufficient parking, there is more than enough space here to push that house back further, just to ensure that there is adequate on-site parking in the driveways.
Thank you.
And we'll still go through a public meeting on this. So if anybody else has concerns, we'll deal with it at the public meeting too. Yep, great. Further questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Your Worship, unless the members have any further items for this committee, we'll now move into community engagement and services. No items on the agenda at this time, unless there are any items from the members.
There is. Councillor Peters has one.
Your Worship, thanks. I'm wondering if staff could report back to us of the status of the therapeutic pool at the Elgin General Hospital. I understand it's closed, it's flooded. I've had a few people contact me saying that the city has to reopen this pool, and I'm explaining that it has nothing to do with us. But if staff could maybe just report back as to what's going on, is the pool going to reopen? Appreciate it. Thanks.
I'm not sure who we'd ask from our staff, but it's more of a hospital issue than ours. But I've been getting the odd phone call too, Councillor Peters, and I've been saying it that way, that the hospital is responsible for hospital assets and the province would be responsible for funding the hospital. And so I'm not sure we can say much more than that. That therapeutic pool has been around a long time. There was a fundraiser a couple of years ago of substantial amount of money to regenerate it. And here we are just a couple of years later, and it's asking for the same type of money to be raised again for the costs on the pool. So this is I think we'll have to leave it there. We'll try and ask in the next week, answer from the hospital itself on its thoughts. Some people who shared with me today simply said, well, the hospital says we have fundraisings for other reasons right now, and the pool isn't really one of them. But we'll have to ask them and hear it from them rather than hearsay. Any other topics under community engagement and services? No.
We'll now move into infrastructure and civic operations. First item is the Yarmouth Yard Earthworks and Servicing Phase 2 contract extension. I have motion that report ID 3334 relating to Phase 2 contract extension be received for information, and further that the Yarmouth Yards Earthworks and Servicing Phase 1 tender 2024-021 be increased by 14,100,000 excluding HST. Moved by Counselor Wookey, seconded by Counselor Gibson.
Questions or comments? Counselor Wookey first, then Counselor Herbert.
Thanks, your worship. These are a little bit of a challenge for us because we're single sourcing a contract for a great deal of money. And that's not usually the way we want to do it. But I just want to say to any folks that are listening tonight, this one makes a lot of sense because the equipment's already on site, the personnel are on site, there's no time lag, there's no risk that we're going to be behind schedule. And the staff have made it very clear to us that they are comfortable with this. And so I just want to say that we don't like doing single sourcing, but sometimes it is by far the best economic choice and strategic choice for this development. Thank you.
Well put, Counselor Wookey. Counselor Herbert?
Thank you, Worship. I'm kind of maybe in the same ballpark as Councilor Wookey. It seems like every other month or they come to us or saying they need 10 million to do this or 10 million to do this. Now it's 14 million. Is there any way of telling ahead? And is it going to be next month? They need another 12 million to do something? I don't know. It's just curious to see that you keep coming back, asking, telling us we need this and we contract it out. So just a question.
Thank you, Counselor Herbert. Please go ahead.
Through your worship, Councilor Herbert. The way we structure some of these contracts to take advantage of both the procurement that we're doing at the time, as well as knowing that we have very tight timelines, we worded our contract documents to allow the option of these contract extensions. So this whole contract was competitively procured, great pricing. We've gotten this pricing back, reviewed it, and found that it is definitely within industry prices that we've had for other type of projects. So it was the two projects that we went out this year that had this option were the Yarmouth Yards Earthwork Servicing project as well as the rail. So the other one that could potentially be seeing this in the future is the rail extension for the to do the shunting yard for the site to get set up for PowerCo. So that's the only other one that we could have coming forward this year. Then you may see that would be similar type of an extension process.
I mean, if I can also add to Counselor Herbert's comments, these are not shocking us. These are things we knew we would have to do in the future. We're just getting to them earlier and being able to keep equipment on sites to do it. Further questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Next item relates to Highbury and South Edgeware legislative updates. I have motion that report ID 3224 relating to Highbury and South Edgeware legislative updates be received for information, and further the council accept the transfer from the Ministry of Transportation for a road section along Centennial Road defined as Part 6 and 7 on Plan 11R11204, and further the council direct that Highbury Avenue for 120 meters south of South Edgeware Road be registered as a right-of-way, and further the council direct that a bylaw be prepared for its consideration to amend traffic and parking bylaw 45-89. I moved by Councillor Clark, seconded by Councillor Herbert.
Questions or comments? Counselor Peters?
Thanks very much, Your Worship. I understand the assumption of this closed former section, but my question to Nathan is why are we taking the sort of the cul-de-sac so far south? I'm looking at the map that was on the previous report on the Yarmouth Yards, and it doesn't appear that there's going to be any roads coming off there. And are we just creating a potential of a dumping area, et cetera? Like, why wouldn't we just close Centennial right at South Edgeware and not worry about having to maintain this small dead end street?
Great question. Main concern for keeping that portion of Centennial Ave, which will be known as, I believe it's Lightning Lane, is for the amount of utilities that are currently on the right of way. So we have significant water mains, gas mains, hydro. Also, I think there's a Rogers high-speed fiber there as well. So to keep at least the right of way open for that purpose alone, Also for the flexibility of the larger Yarmouth Yards Industrial Park, we want to have, good sellable lots with road access. So we do not know what's going to happen to that parcel that's going to be at the southeast corner of the intersection of Old Centennial and South Edgewood Road. So it could be a road access off of the cul-de-sac there for whatever development happens there. It could be off of South Edgewood Extension as well. We just want to have lots of flexibility for that as well.
Further questions, Councillor Clark?
Thanks. The whole forested area on that map, will that all be ours?
It currently is the city's property right now, yes.
So it could, the use of the road, potentially there could be it could be a park.
It could be a park, it could be a sellable lot. There's definitely some options being considered for that, so.
Great. Further questions? Councillor Herbert?
Thank you, Worship. Under the financial impact, they said there's a minor financial impact in the future. Is that for the city to pay or is that for the project to pay?
The minor financial impact would basically be our ongoing operations for the roadways. So snow plowing, that type of thing. That would be kind of the minor operation or the minor financial costs that would be borne by the city for the cul-de-sac, as well as the portion of Highbury that's south of South Edgewood that we have to maintain.
So does that become a budget item?
It becomes a budget item under our
Okay.
road operations, yes.
Thank you.
Councillor Peters?
Thanks, Your Worship. Just while you're up there, Nathan, what's the timeline of the opening of the Highbury extension from South Edgeworth to the new roundabout at the bypass?
From my recent recollection, and I'm noticing that this is also, this could be being put out into the public for there, but I believe we're targeting end of October for opening up the roundabout as well as going up to South Edgeworth Road. So that's what we're targeting for that portion of the project.
Oh, great. Further questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Are there any opposed? That's carried.
Worship, unless there are any further items for this committee, we'll now move into corporate governance and administration. No items on the agenda at this time, unless there are any items from the members. Seeing none, council will now reconvene into regular session. I have a motion that the recommendations, directions, and actions of council in committee of the whole is recorded in the minutes of this date be confirmed, ratified, and adopted. Moved by Councillor Baldwin Sands. Seconded by Councillor Gibson.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried.
Next order of business are reports of committees. We have two reports of committees this evening. The first one relates to a heritage alteration permit for the property at 393 Talbot Street. I have a motion that report MHC 1124 relating to the heritage alteration permit for 393 Talbot Street be received for information. And further, the council issue a heritage alteration permit for the property at 393 Talbot Street relating to application HAP 0824. Moved by Councillor McCauley, seconded by Councillor Wookie.
Questions or comments? Councillor Herbert?
Thank you, Worship. I just want to compliment the builders. That was a pretty sore, bad looking site. And there's been a lot of nice renovations done on it. And it really helps our Talbot Street to look that much better. So they did a nice job on it. So thank you.
Further questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried.
Next report relates to heritage alteration permit for the property at 381 Talbot Street. I have motion that report MHC 1224 relating to the heritage alteration permit for 381 Talbot Street be received for information. And for the council issue a heritage alteration permit for the property at 381 Talbot Street relating to application HAP 0924. Moved by Councillor Kohler, seconded by Councillor Wookie.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried.
Moving into petitions and communications, the first item, letter has been received from the Renner family requesting a proclamation for Idiopathic Pulmonary Fibrosis Day. I have motion that Council of the City of St. Thomas proclaim September 20th, 2024 as Idiopathic Pulmonary Fibrosis Day in the City of St. Thomas. Moved by Councillor Wookie, seconded by Councillor Herbert.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
That concludes the items under petitions. Next order of business is unfinished business of council. Your worship, seeing no unfinished items, we'll now move into new business of council.
I have a few pieces of new business or carryover business. First of all, yesterday morning attended the Terry Fox Run. Now, our community had not held one in a couple of years, so it was great to be back out in beautiful Pinafore Park on a beautiful sunny day for a return of the Terry Fox Run. Another excellent part of yesterday was the Kirkin of the Tartans, which the parade took place yesterday, and so we did that. And then Councillor Peters and I attended the old church, the cemetery at the old church, as a matter, for a dedication of United Empire loyalists, dedicating some of the graves in our old church cemetery. It was quite a moving ceremony. 21 gun salutes will always wake you up, but it was a beautiful day for it. And I don't know what I was thinking, but I arrived, I don't know, 20 or 30 minutes early, and there was already a couple hundred people there. And I thought, well, maybe I read it wrong. So I'm looking it up to see if I had it wrong. No, it was really well attended and a beautiful day to have it outside at the old church. Upcoming, we have Oktoberfest coming up this Saturday in downtown St. Thomas. If you have not heard about it, you're living under a rock, but we're going to keep telling you about it for the rest of this week. There'll be the traditional tapping of the kegs and lots of German music and great food. The trains will be running 4 times out of the downtown and back. So if you're looking for train rides for the kids and the adults, I know that the police and the fire are having some competitions, and we're going to have a lot of fun. And we have visiting with us for this coming weekend, the mayor from Salzgitter, Germany. We visited him when we went to see the PowerCo headquarters in Salzgitter. He's returning the visit. We hope to become sister cities with Salzgitter. And so the mayor and 5 of his councilors or 4 of his councilors coming over to visit us and taking part in the Oktoberfest on Saturday. It's always up to the mayors, the burgermeisters, to tap the kegs and start the fun. So he and I will have some fun doing that. So if you see some people around town that you don't know, stop and say hi. They're probably mayors and councilors from Salzgitter, Germany. Also wanted to announce that starting next week, there's a building blitz on the Tiny Hope project. It's going Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. All of the many of the developers and builders in our community are coming to help with this. I know the Terry Group is really setting it up, but we'll start to see huge amount of progress on the Tiny Hope site next week also. I am not handy, so I'll be helping with food. Well, I'm handy with that, but not with a hammer or anything. And that is all the new business I have for today. Councillor Herbert.
Thank you, worship. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this Wednesday, 9 till 2 is the seniors picnic at Pinafore.
It is.
Thank you.
Right. The replacement seniors picnic was bad weathered out earlier in the summer. And so, yes, that is happening on Wednesday.
Did I get the right time? 9?
Oh, I think if you showed up at 8, you'd still find people there. And if you hang around past 2, you're still going to find people there too. But Councillor Clark?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just, I wonder if we could get an update on the property directly east of the Grand Central building. The building was knocked down. It's been empty for a while, and I was just wondering if there's been any permits been asked for, if there's any action on that property.
Well, I'm going to go all the way to Mr. Pompilio on this one too. I know that we sometimes have a long time between when we start on a demolition and get to a building permit.
Through your worship, yes, we've had, I've had many discussions with the proponents there, and they have some development concepts that they're exploring. They are still looking, and I'm trying to get actively involved too in terms of trying to find some solutions for parking, and trying to open up some space in the parking structure that's in behind that parcel and Grand Central. So that they are still actively looking at doing a full redevelopment of that site, multiple residential units. So the discussions are still ongoing.
Councillor Herbert.
Thank you, worship. Back to you, Lou. Is the plan still to take down that old tire service building that was there, rip that whole thing down? I thought someone had said sometime it was going to be for parking. I don't know.
I have, through your worship,
Yes.
no, there's been no
Fine.
updates that I can
Right. Yeah.
update you on with regards to that property.
We continue to see growth in all four corners of our community and await people's final site plans for some of these buildings. Anything else under new business or announcements or? Great, thank you very much. We'll move on.
Next order of business are bylaws. I have a motion that leave be granted to bring in the bylaws. Moved by Counselor Peters, seconded by Counselor Baldwin Sands.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
I have a motion by Counselor Peters, seconded by Counselor Baldwin Sands, that the bylaws be now read a first time, referred to council and committee of the whole, and read a second time.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
First bylaw, please.
First bylaw is a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council meeting held on September 16th, 2024.
Questions or comments? All in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Next bylaw, please.
Second bylaw is a bylaw to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute and affix the seal of the corporation to a certain agreement between the city, Novi Construction Limited, and Walter Ostajic and Sons Limited. This relates to property at 21 Park Avenue for 6 one-story detached dwelling units to be registered in vacant land condominium format.
Questions or comments? All in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Third and final bylaw is a bylaw to amend bylaw 45-89, being a bylaw to revise and consolidate certain bylaws regulating traffic and the parking of motor vehicles. This relates to Highbury Avenue and South Edgewater Road.
Questions or comments? All in favor? Any opposed? Carried. I rise to report the successful passing of 3 bylaws.
Thank you very much.
I have a motion by Counselor Peters, seconded by Counselor Baldwin Sands, that the report of council and committee of the whole on the 3 bylaws be received and adopted, the same be read a third time, engrossed, signed by the mayor and clerk, sealed and numbered.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
No public notice or notices of motion for this evening. There is a need to move into closed session. I have a motion that this meeting be closed to deal with a proposed or pending acquisition of land, to deal with a position plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality, a labor relations matter, and a personal matter about an identifiable individual. Moved by Counselor McCauley, seconded by Counselor Baldwin Sands.
Thank you. And before we vote, we'll say our normal. We will be going into closed session to discuss the items that the clerk has just mentioned. We'll be rising from closed session to adjourn our meeting in public before we go away for the day. So for all of those watching at home, thank you very much. For all of those of you attending here, thank you very much. And we will now vote to close session. All in favor? Any opposed? Carried.
Your worship, at this time, have motion that council rise from closed session. Moved by Counselor Herbert, seconded by Counselor Gibson.
Questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? We're now in open session.
Your worship, no further items for open session. At this time, I have a motion for adjournment. Moved by Counselor Clark, seconded by Counselor Baldwin Sands.
Questions or comments on adjournment? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Thank you very much. What a wonderful evening.